Hey, welcome back to another TAM special presentation. In this special report, we're going to open the doors to a conversation that's needed to be spoken into the mainstream, into the ether, if you will, and made public for all to hear and all to see for a very, very long time to come. Our focus today is going to be on humankind, our local environment, and that of our culture. We're going to do our best not to be tyrannical in our approach on this one, which it would be very, very easy to do. We're going to try and be as Christ-like in our views on this matter while at the same time take a very real and hard look at what needs to be looked at. Not an easy rope to walk here, folks. You see, there's a systematic problem that is well hidden in Indiantown, in Stewart, Port Salerno, Golden Gate, and elsewhere in our community. The causes are different. The demographics vary from place to place. The need for real solutions to this problem exists across the board, though, and it's regardless of the demographic. The causes are varied and the resources needed vary from area to area, from group to group. In this first part special, we're going to focus on Indiantown and look at the human aspects of a problem that's not healthy and is growing all over America. It's here in our backyard. Indiantown's had a recent two arrests made of pedophiles. Another man was arrested for killing his wife in front of their young toddler daughter. He shot and killed his wife because of a suspicion of infidelity with one of the transient guests that rented space in the couple's house on a regular basis. The couple and family were one of many illegal boarding houses in Indiantown. You see, the local Baptist church has even had indigents that at night jimmied their way into the church and consumed food, as well as slept on a couch that was used in one of the offices. The men were caught after several weeks. That's right, several weeks of no one knowing. The men never asked. They broke in, took food from a church. Then for retribution, after they were given to the local authorities, they returned to vandalize the church. What kind of a mind does this? These events are all within recent news cycles and still fresh on people's minds in Indiantown. So let's look a little deeper at this. In the 80s, there was a massive flood of immigration during the Guatemalan Civil War, which was fought from 1960 to 96 between the government of Guatemala and various leftist rebel groups. The local Catholic Church established what is still today a very efficient Latin American gateway for illegal and other immigration types. Several Central American consulates have established a well-organized pop-up presence in Indiantown on numerous occasions. We've asked, what's their purpose? Well, it's to provide those who made it this far without any legal recognition of the system, and therefore without documentation, with enough documentation that it can send a fella to the front of the immigration entitlement line. This kind of stuff continues today. A commercial Greyhound-style bus arrives every day like clockwork, dropping off the new arrivals as well, each with a white envelope, a bag of food, and what is sure to be a few dollars to start their journey into the new land of good and plenty. As people are not arriving by proper immigration procedures that many honor. All of this begins to draw a dichotomy and a distinction between the mind that decides to do what is required for the reward of effort and outcome. The other only requires you evade detection and make it across the border. The rest is then given to you. There's no need to change your values to match America's standards and principles. There's actually an underground that reestablishes you with your countrymen. Not only your countrymen, but your culture too. A third world culture in this scenario. Let's take a look at just what a few of those things are, these third world cultural ideas. Now, let's look at our restaurant industry here for an example. In Martin County, like most any other place in a first world country, you are required to have what? A health permit. You have to prove to someone, in this case, unfortunately, it's the government. I wish it wasn't the government, but it is. You have to prove that you maintain certain hygienic standards within your restaurant if you want to serve food to the people in your community. Yeah, okay. I guess it makes sense. I mean, especially when you end up without these and you end up with listeria outbreaks, with all sorts of botulisms. There has to be some kind of oversight. I mean, come on, guys, we have to have the ability to know we're going to some place that's at least meeting a minimum standard. But you know what happens? These restaurants that pay rent, that pay for waitresses, waiters, cooks, janitors, cleaners, food supplies, the rent, the insurance, the advertising, the electricity, the water, everything that they have to pay for, right? Where does that come from? Well, that comes from me and you when we go to the restaurant and we buy something from them. So we're given the sense of, you know, security. Now, this is a first world type of scenario where you find yourself, let's say Central America or in South Asia, just as an example. You may not and probably will not have these health certificates where you have a health inspector that comes by and actually looks at the cleanliness and detects whether or not there are bacterium that are harmful to people within the food system. Okay. Well, that's why we call it third world, second world. It's not at a level, a blessing that we take for granted here in the I wish we were United States of America. We we have a system here, and it's critical to talk about this because it goes to some other things we're going to speak about, and that is a set of standards that seem to be set for one group of people to follow, but others don't have to. Now, how does that happen? How does that happen? And what am I talking about and why restaurants? Well, I want to thank the people that have the restaurants here in Indiantown because we're a little bit of a food desert kind of to speak of anyway, on a smaller scale than a lot of places because we're 20, 30 minutes from any place to get anything. So what we have here is what we got, unless we're willing to travel. So when you start to see people on the back of their truck or with the trunk open on their SUV, and they have coolers and thermoses out, and they are advertising on Facebook that they are cooking food in their kitchen for people to come to buy, and they will deliver it to your house from their house. Wow, I bet the food's great too. I'll bet some of this is the most authentic, culturally perfect, tasty food you've ever had. But here's the deal, it's illegal. Now, is it wrong? Who am I to say? I mean, these people are being entrepreneurial. But give to Caesar, render unto him what is his. And what is his is the fact that if you are to make money selling food, you are to follow the rules that everyone else has to follow. You see, the profit that Crackers makes off of theirs, well, it may seem astronomical, but you should see the costs that they are having to put out in order to stay legal. If they didn't have to operate legally and pay all these things that they're required by law to pay and have people that follow up on them to make sure they are doing the things that they're supposed to be doing, okay? If that's the system you want, then you cannot allow other people to operate in that same system under different rules. It is not the way the game is to be played. And trust me, this is a game. And if you want to win at this game and you don't like the rules, that is where we have an advantage here in America. We can get involved and change the rules. Get involved. Quit whining. Change the rules. You don't like it, change the rules. But where's the enforcement? If I, from my bedroom on Facebook, can see all of these transactions, transgressions, these illegalities taking place just within this one little market, this niche market of restaurateurs, what else is going on? Well, that's a fair question to ask. So let me answer that for you. How about illegal boarding houses? How about 11 to 20 people in a house every night? Cots, if they're lucky, are set up on the floor. 5, 6, 7 men sleeping on a floor. People sleeping on floors. And then at night, after the sleeping's done and morning comes, if you want to use the restroom, you can pay an additional fee. If you want food in the morning, you can pay for that food. Otherwise, you pick up your stuff and get the heck out of the house. We'll see you tonight if there's room left. Yeah, people are doing this with their extra bedrooms, their living rooms. Why? Because they need to make ends meet. I get it. Remember, we're not trying to be tyrannical about this. We're trying to be Christ-like. We're trying to look at this from a perspective of people are suffering, people have needs, and some people are being treated with more opportunity than others. Why? Why? Why should that be? Well, I agree. We don't want them sleeping outside, do we? But see, there's a whole network that's taking place, and this isn't a onesies or twosies or one-offs. Folks, this is a very, very big situation in Indiantown. And remember that guy that shot his wife with his toddler daughter there? That's right. There are families that are renting out to strangers every day for a few dollars a day so that these people, well, not so that they will, it's so that they can make the money. But you know, you get into illegal situations like this, you get into bad situations like this where it's not a hotel, it's not a motel, it's not some place that's regulated. Why do we regulate? Well, we regulate them so we don't get into these situations where children like these toddlers are exposed, where pedophiles can find children easily. Okay? There are reasons for these rules. Now, there are reasons for these people being in this situation as well. I get that. I get it 100%. My complaining, your complaining, it's not going to make the problem go away. However, it might give us an opportunity to look at the problem as we speak these problems into the ether and begin to look at ways that they can be addressed, because it is affecting our community, our children, our income, our taxable base. It's affecting everything around us in a system that's supposed to be working, that we look at and say, oh, that's the system. It's never going to fail. Baloney, it's never going to fail. Everything behind it right here in Indiantown is failing because of situations like this. Illegal food kitchens, illegal boarding houses. How about a homeless situation that seems to really, really be out of control? Oh, really? Don't think so? Here you go. Remember when there was a conversation on the village council in Indiantown about putting fences up? Why would you want to have to put up a fence around a vacant lot? I don't think we should allow them to do it. You know why? Here's some pictures. Here's a vacant lot. You know where this vacant lot's at? This vacant lot is right across the street from the park in the center of town. Boom! Right here, right where the kids are playing. What's going on back here? Well, I can tell you, we found women's underwear, we found a mattress, we found clothing, we found all of the things that you're seeing here, but we also found evidence of people sleeping there. We found real strong suggestions that there's probably tricks being turned in these wood lines. We also found that there could be children involved just from the stuffed animals that we found at this other location. This was an hour's walk in Indiantown to look in a few places. We're still looking. Golden Gate, you have your own. Have you been next to Lowe's? Have you seen the wood line over there? Have you looked around in Hobe Sound? Have you looked around in Jensen Beach? No, because we walk with this wall around us of all these pictures being beamed at us that say the system, it's working. And behind the scenes, the system's falling apart, folks. And why should you care? Because you're the one that's going to end up suffering the most. You really will. This is all going to come to a head at some point. You have two worlds. You have a dichotomy of worlds, and you can choose to bury your head in the sand and look the other way, or you can involve yourself. Involve yourself at some level. Find an organization that's helping with these things. Involve yourself politically. Find a way to involve yourself in your community instead of having your community involve you. It's your responsibility. And I know when people are abusing the system the way that they abuse it with such frequency, it's tough to want to do things the right way, the way that we've all agreed to. And if we don't all like the way that we've agreed to it, then we need to sit down and have a conversation and change what the way we do things. But the way we're going about it now is not working. Ignoring it is only allowing this problem to grow. It's not going to help it. We have to get real about matters in our world. Anyway, look, the assumption of one side versus another here. This is, folks, we're all people. We all have wants. We all have needs. We all have desires. And the harder we work together, the easier it is for all of us. But I have a hard time being the one that works within the rules and giving all of the time to those that do not want to play by the rules, walk within the boundary of the rules, and behave in that rule set, and expect that I provide them with benefit. I am supposed to be the Christian. I am supposed to extend my hand. I am supposed to help. But let me tell you, when a hand is extended, another hand has to grab that hand and take it. And when you do, you have a responsibility to give back. There is a responsibility of self-worth alone, a responsibility to your fellow brother, your fellow citizen. Heck, most of you aren't even citizens. Now, you're not going to be listening to this anyway. But to those that aren't citizens, why? You know, it's real easy. It's real easy to see why people say stop giving them. Stop. Well, it's real easy to see because we don't get back. We don't get back. All right. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do? I have a suggestion for you. Let me float this one. If you've made it this far in, you have some sense about you, I hope. And we are talking about Martin County. I want to give you a way that we can work to change things here in Martin County. And a lot of that's going to go to who we're electing and how we are electing them. Now, here's the deal. Right now, we elect 5 commissioners for our county, right? There are 5 districts. Of those 5 districts, everyone in the county can vote for any one of the districts. Does that make any sense to you? Me neither. See, I think we're a little too big now. What we need to do is use the second model that's available to us under law. Under Florida statute, you can either use the model that we're using now, the 5x5, or we can use a 7-commissioner model, where 2 of those commissioners are elected at large, meaning we all get to vote for 2 of these suckers. And then the other 5, well, you only get to vote for the one that's in your district. Yeah. Now, what does that do? Well, that means that more district attention is going to take place. For instance, why in the hell does Doug Smith or Sarah Hurd give a hoot nor a holler about the immigration problem and all of the illegal stuff that's going on out here in Indiantown? They don't. And it's very apparent. It's very apparent. If we had a district that elected these commissioners, we could hold their feet to the fire for the issues that are important for our district. And then there's 2 at large that will be able to say, okay, but don't forget about the rest of the county. I want you to give that some thought because you're going to hear more about this coming up. There's some changes coming, folks. There are some things that are coming quick. There are some big changes coming to Martin County. You can feel it in the air. Oh, here's one of them. I like this one. I saw this on Facebook. There's a group that is putting together an event that, hey, let's all have a block party. And the purpose of this block party is to talk about how we can all come together to stop this rampant overdevelopment in our area. Now, this happens to be Jensen Beach, and I tend to agree. I think Jensen Beach is like out of freaking control. You guys are going nutso bonkers up there next to St. Lucie County, but I guess that's what your district wants. You see, our district out here in the western lands, we don't want that. That's why we need more control over our chairman, our commissioners, right? Which we don't have. You don't have it. There are too few voters out here. But when you reduce the size of the district, those too few voters become a large number of voters. Folks, there's changes coming. We have to have them. There have to be changes that are made here in Martin County. Now, I will tell you that we have spoken with the village council on these matters in Indiantown, at least some council members. We know that there are some things taking place. We have also spoken with other agencies and groups that agree with us on this, that are working to try to help make things better. You know, I mean, we sit here and we see the outcomes of what happens from the problem, and we do not address the root of the problem. We have to begin addressing the root of the problem, and a lot of this is going to take law enforcement to do it. And until we get a law enforcement crew with a backbone in there that's willing to do more than go after people for prescription marijuana and traffic violations, which, guys, you're doing a great job out there. I understand that, but the priority in Indiantown is not emphasized on the problems that we've been talking about, and that is why you had a murder of that woman in front of her child. You had two pedophiles. Don't tell me it happens everywhere. There are environments that create this, and when you bring third world cultures, third world environments, and third world habits into the backyard of a first world, the first worlders are going to be really happy to help. But when you third world stand there with your hand out and say, oh, keep giving, you know, there's no incentive to become Americanized. There's no incentive to move forward. There's America's being lost. And this is part of the reason why. All right, Martin County, look, it's Sunday. Again, we're trying not to go fully tyrannical on this, but we have to have some solutions to these problems, because these problems, without solutions, are affecting the people that are following the rules. And when people don't follow the rules and the rules are broken, why should anyone follow them? Really? Why should anyone follow them? We'll check back with you. Enough said. No more out.